My first encounter with Randolph Community College came about sort of by accident. I was working at GE in product service for Mr. Bob Duty, and Mr. Bob was a very avid member of the Lions Club. Another gentleman that was a member of the Lions Club with him was Mr. Merton Branson, who was the president of Randolph Community College. It seems that Randolph Community College had put together an electronics class that for laymen lasted for 15 weeks or something like that, and they had recruited a number of people, 15 or 20 people, that were taking the class, and they had hired an instructor who was an engineer at General Electric, a guy by the name of Jack Steele. And somewhere in the first few weeks of the class, Jack became ill and was unable to continue to teach the class, and Mr. Branson was searching for a way to solve that problem, and he mentioned it to Mr. Duty. Mr. Duty sort of volunteered me to fill that slot. I was already enrolled at Guilford, didn't go a couple nights a week, but this class only met one night a week, and it was not one that had a conflict with my Guilford schedule. So I agreed to take it and became an adjunct instructor at RCC. The pay was not super great, but it wasn't bad either. It really put a little extra load on Betty because I was not able to be home with her and the boys that night. But it didn't last too late in the evening, so I agreed to do it and began the class. And I'll give Mr. Duty credit. He allowed me to do my lesson prep during the working day at my desk in the product service office, and that really helped because it also gave me access to copiers and other things that I needed to put together a good lesson plan. So that was my first encounter with Randolph Community College, and I believe that was in 1964. Could have been 1965, but was fairly soon after we had moved to Harrisburg, and I had been working with GE for a couple of years, and had moved from maintenance into product service. It was a great experience. I don't know that I would want to take on that task again. I had a lot more energy back then. But anyway, I got to know a lot of people at Randolph Community College through that. Dr. Larry Linker, who was not a doctor at that time, I don't believe. Mr. Larry Linker was the night supervisor of the school, so I guess in a way I was his employee. I also had a high school classmate, or a guy that I was in high school with. He actually was a 1 year ahead of me, but a guy by the name of John Robinson, who worked at Randolph Community College. John spent a lot of years there, continued to go to school, finally got his doctor's degree, and retired as a doctor from RCC, and I think has passed away since that time. I got to know Mr. Branson pretty well through that, and one experience that I had was during my tenure, or the time that I was working there, they had a Sunday afternoon open house, and it was open to anyone in the community, and they asked me to be sort of a docent during that afternoon. I did that, and I remember vividly near the end of the afternoon, a gentleman from, I think he said he was from Siler City, Chatham County, a black guy, came up to the school and was sort of timidly entering in, and he asked me a question. He said, "You mean I can go to school here?" And I said, "Yes, sir. You certainly can." It was easy to read the surprise and joy in his face. he had found an opportunity to improve himself, and nobody would tell him that because of the color of his skin that he could not do that. So that was one of the experiences I had. The other experience I had was there were a couple of students in this class that worked for Carolina Power and Light, and their place of employment was the dam that impounded a lake that's south of Baden Lake. But anyway, it's on the Yadkin River. And they made arrangements to be able to go and visit the dam and the power plant, go all through it one evening. And we took, most of the students were interested in doing that, and we took most of them there and toured the place. Extremely interesting for me. I'd never been inside the dam and seen the turbines and all of those, the generators and all the things that were in there. I believe the guy, the older fellow that worked at the dam was named Dunlap, and I can't remember what his first name was, but ironically, probably 50 years later, when we were living in Albemarle, or at Old North State, we would occasionally visit the McDonald's in Albemarle. Mr. Dunlap visited there quite frequently for breakfast, so I got to see him again. He, like me, had added a lot of years over that period of time, but he recognized me and I recognized him, and we reminisced a little bit about the visit to the power plant. And that sort of wraps up that phase of my interaction with Randolph Community College. I was an employee. A good many years later, I think about 20 years later maybe, RCC decided to initiate a nursing program. And I'm thinking this was in 1984, I'm not absolutely certain. But at any rate, Sam Cranford, I believe, was chairman of the hospital board, and they were working between RCC and hospital, trying to bring together a fundraising activity to raise about $500,000 to support launching the nursing program. And Sam came to see me and asked me if I would accept chairmanship of the fundraising campaign, and I was a little shy about that, but finally I agreed to do it, and certainly he offered the support, of a number of people, and put together a pretty good organization. And over a period of time, we raised the $500,000 and set that up as a fund that they could draw against to support the nursing program. I don't know the financial details at this point in time. That's been a number of years ago. I do know that the nursing program has been rather successful. It struggled maybe for a couple of years, and then they really got involved and brought the qualifications of the instructors and everyone up. And in recent times, they have had 100% pass on the first test performance. So they've gotten the right people in place, and it's really a very successful program, and it has produced significant number of nurses for Randolph County and Harrisburg particularly. During that process, I became familiar with and involved in the RCC Foundation, and the RCC Foundation was actually Dr. Larry Linker's doctoral thesis when he was getting his degree. He did a study and made a proposal at RCC form a foundation and to raise significant funds in order to support education at RCC. I became involved in the foundation for a couple of years. I actually served as president, I think they called it at that point in time, for a year or two. And I was not the primary fundraiser. I was more like an administrative person involved in it, but I did set up several funds that I I would gift them to the foundation in honor or in memory of someone. And I did that particularly with some of my church friends, fellow church members. I remember particularly a fellow that had been a friend since I arrived in Asheboro, Mr. Joe Anderson, who was the head draftsman at GE, and we attended church with him. He was just one of the greatest people I've ever met. I donated a scholarship in his honor, and then a couple in Seagrove, Mr. and Ms. Eaton, that I was able to donate a scholarship for. At that time, you actually could fund a scholarship for $3,000. I think that number has moved up to probably $10,000 to name a scholarship. But anyway, I was able to put several of them in place. Felt good about that, and I also felt good about what the foundation was doing. I think there was a gentleman in Asheboro that had made sort of the initial contribution, which was well over $1 million. And foundation's funding, is the last I heard, was in the neighborhood of $8 to $10 million. So it's been a powerful force for several years. Ann Hoover and check with me. I'll put it in when we get it. But anyway, Ann Hoover and another lady had sponsored the Dancing with the Stars function each year, and that was a very, very effective fundraiser. But anyway, I worked with the foundation and obviously got to know more people at RCC. And then in 1992, I got involved in politics a little bit and worked in the campaign for Bob Jordan, who was running for governor. And Bob Jordan did not win the governorship in 92, but again in 96, I worked in the Jim Hunt campaign as the county finance chairman, and we had pretty successful fundraising to support Jim Hunt, and he did win. And as a result of the work that I had done in his campaign, he appointed me to the RCC board, and I served, I think, 12 years, maybe more than that. I'd probably have to check the record, but served, I think, when I went on the board, Mr. Willie Plummer was the chairman. Following him, Tyler Lisk was the chairman, and then Jerry Tillman, who was later an NC senator. In fact, I was Jerry's vice chairman, and when he won the Senate seat, he chose to resign as chairman. I probably was supposed to resign. I moved up to become chairman of the board at RCC, and I only stayed in that position for about 3 years. Actually, it was my feeling, based on my experiences at Wingate, that the chairman should be a rotating job. I think your board feels a lot better if all of them are at least considered capable of being chairman. Maybe not all of them get to be, but if you rotate it every 2 or 3 years, you get some new blood. Now, some presidents of the institutions don't necessarily like that, because they like to get a chairman who they have a good relationship with and keep him for forever. But I insisted that Jim Campbell, who was the vice chairman, step up and take the role of chairman, and I think that worked out quite well. I know Jim enjoyed it, and he remained in the position a good bit longer than I had, but he did a great job. Who was happy with him, the board was happy with him, and I had probably become a little stale over the years, and I chose, I did not choose, I guess, when we had a change of politics of the governor's office, I was not reappointed. I think I served 3 terms, 12 years. Since that time, the legislature legislature of North Carolina has pretty much stripped the governor of the opportunity to appoint members to the board. I haven't looked at the formula right lately, but they moved a lot more of that into the legislative appointments. Serving on the board of RCC was a very enjoyable experience. There was some work to it, but not a great deal. Certainly with the three presidents that I worked with, actually, Dr. Lanker, and then I'll have to fill this one in, and then later Bob Shackelford. I enjoyed working with them very much. Dick, I'm trying to remember the name, the guy between Lanker and Shackelford, and I'll fill it in. But it was a good experience and gave you a lot of exposure in the community. That's pretty much a brief synopsis of my experience with RCC. I was given a lifetime trustee status and a couple of other awards, outstanding service award or something like that we can make a list of.